Hi, guys. My name's Christopher. I'm going to be your tour guide tonight. Where are y'all from? That's great. Well, I'm from California myself in the United States. Have you ever been there? No? Nobody? That's all right. Today I'm going to be talking to you about love and sacrifice, and those things are the same no matter what country you're in. I'm going to tell you the story of Gus and Cindy. Has anybody ever heard this story before? It starts in my homeland. It starts in the United States, ends here in the Netherlands. Nobody? That's all right. Uh, there's another version of it out there called that has a Jim and Della, but that's not the real version. I'm telling you the real version today. Now, Gus was a Dutchman from Leiden. His family was in the bicycle repair business, and they owned a shop. His parents died early, and they left their shop to their children. As they worked it, Gus realized that something was missing in his life. He just wasn't happy where he was. So he sold his part of the business to his sister. He took his inheritance, his cash in hand, and he took his toolbox for repairing bicycles, and he took his father's watch, which was the last thing that he had to remember him by. It's a golden watch, just the most beautiful thing that he'd had. Very precious to him. So he struck out on his own. Now, Gus was not his actual name. He was a Dutchman. His real name was Gus. I can't do it. Americans can't pronounce that name. It's Guus. So he knew since he was in America, he had to change his name to something Americans could speak. So Gus it was. When he arrived in New Amsterdam, which silly Americans call New York, he set up his little shop behind a vacuum shop. Sadly, Americans don't use bicycles. They certainly don't need anybody to repair their bicycle for them, so his business never really got off the ground. But what did happen is he met his wife, Cindy, the love of his life. Cindy was a striking woman. She had ice blue eyes, jet black hair that went all the way back down to her knees in great curls. She was a student, and she finished up her studies. About the time she finished up her studies, they went back to the Netherlands because it just wasn't working out for them there. So back to the Netherlands they went, destitute, with everything that he went, with nothing but what he came with, and he had to sell his toolbox in order to get the tickets to get back. That's okay. He was coming home. So he came back to Amsterdam, right here, and he immediately took up a job in another bicycle repair place, not making a whole lot of money, 50 guilder a week, for which meant that they could live in a small apartment over that little vacuum shop. But they were in love, and they were happy, and that was what mattered. Fairly happy. You see, Cindy is an expat. Didn't know that most Dutch women, their hair is thin and straight, doesn't require as much care. So when she went to the store to purchase a hairbrush in order to use, all she could find was these little black plastic things. And when she ran them through her curly hair, the teeth would break. So she just took her hair and she said, "You know what? I'm just going to keep the mess out of the way." And she wrapped it in a yellow scarf. And that's the way that she went through her life to her work. So when Christmas came, Gus was looking for a perfect gift for her. He couldn't quite figure out what to do, no matter where he went. Part of the problem was he only had 14 guilder in his pocket that he'd saved from not buying lunches for a few months. But part of it too was that just nothing was perfect. And the 24th came and he was walking home, having worked the day shift over it, even on Christmas Eve, at his bicycle shop. And as he passed by the beauty store, he saw two combs in a little box. They're the most beautiful thing. They had one that was carved out of a single piece of ivory, and one of them that was carved out of a single piece of ebony. And unfortunately, there was this little tag on it. That tag was a price tag, and it made him choke the same way I choked when I was trying to say his name. 80 guilder. He wasn't going to be able to get that. So he turned around, dejected, started walking down the street. As he got down the street, he came across a jeweler. He'd been toying with his watch in his pocket, just kind of flipping it over. His hand constantly went to it because without a chain, you're constantly afraid that your things are going to fall out of your pocket. That watch, it could be lost at any time, and that just, it terrified him because it was the last thing he had from his father. But what's the point of a watch if you don't have a chain so that you can show it to people, so you can take it out, so you can keep it in your pocket? So he went in and he spoke to the jeweler. The jeweler was a big, large man. Looked like he should have been a butcher. And he took the watch in his big ham hands. He turned it over and he looked at the gears. He nodded and he said, "It's cheap, but I'll take it. I'll give you 40 guilder. Now, there was a moment of panic for Gus, because Gus had been living in the United States and he'd forgot the ways of his homeland. But then he remembered Dutchman haggle. So haggle he did. He said, "I'm going to need 80 guilder for that, because I could get 40 just for the scrap gold." They went back and forth. 70, 50, 65, 72. Finally, Gus stopped and he said, 68 is my final answer. You'll give me 68, or I'll go find another jeweler who's less of a thief. The jeweler nodded, took it, gave him his money. So with a spring in his step, realizing that he didn't know why, but it felt like that watch was almost weighing him down, he took off back up the street to the beauty shop, bought the combs, took them home, wrapped them up in that silly way that Americans like. When Christmas morning came, he brought it, took it to his wife, and he said, "Honey, you deserve something beautiful. You deserve something in your life that makes you happy. So I got you these." She opened it up, and the look on her face wasn't what he expected. She looked confused and hesitant. She said, "Well, let me give you yours." She handed him a small blue sack, velvet, very heavy. Turned it over and he poured it in his hand, and it was a gold watch chain. He said, "But, honey, I sold my watch to get those combs." She unwrapped her yellow scarf. It had been cut down to a bob. She said, "I sold my hair to get that chain to the beauty shop." And they both looked at each other for a moment, and they realized it didn't matter. He said, "Let's put our beautiful things away for a while, since they're of no use to us." And they did. But they realized that was all that mattered. They had dinner, and that is the story of love and sacrifice.